Right then, so as you know, I've started to enjoy photography and videography, which is why I'm mainly doing YouTube and have a Instagram account totally on photography. But today, we're going to be talking about a lens. Now, this lens has been my prime lens in photography, and that lens is the Canon STM 1.8 50mm prime lens. Let's talk about that. So what is an actual prime lens? A prime lens is a lens that just can't zoom. Unlike this lens, which can zoom from 18mm to 55mm really close to my face, this one only can stay at this focal length. And this is as far as my arm reaches out. So the prime lens is not a great lens to be doing this sort of filming. But what it is great for is bokeh. Now bokeh is these like little balls you can see behind me. You see all this blurriness out here, all this blurriness background. This is called bokeh. Now I can give you an example. If I get my camera to focus behind me, now I'm all blurred out. I am sort of in a bokeh mess, but bokeh is basically bokeh balls. That is little out of focus balls which make the image really artistic. Now the main way of really popping out those bokeh balls is to have a dark subject but will have loads of lighting in the background, because if you've got out of focus lighting you can get these big bokeh balls. So some examples being such as this one, you can see those little bokeh balls. That just what really makes the image just look fantastic. It makes it really artistic. If you were going for the artistic side, best lens you could probably choose for the day. Now unfortunately it does come with its disadvantages. If you were in a cramped, small area and you wanted to get quite a lot of things in, a lot of subject in the image, you're not going to have the best of luck. You will probably want to put on like your standard zoom range lens to like 18 to 55, or just a wide angle camera lens to get everything in. The prime lens is the 50mm prime lens from Canon, is mainly just to get specific subjects. It's not for your wide angle sort of photography. So if you put this lens on a cropped camera, it's obviously going to be more zoomed in because you're working on a crop sensor. If you've got a full frame camera, then it's going to be a lot more wider, so you might have a bit more privileges in how much subject you can actually get on your camera with that lens. So this 50mm prime lens, which I'm not using right now obviously, it is Canon's, I believe, second generation of the first one, which it has had some improvements, like the autofocusing system's a lot quicker and faster. The build quality is a lot better as well, it's less prone to be breaking. The only thing still, which is a bit outdated with the 50mm prime lens, is that when the lens actually focuses, it actually moves in and out, which is quite old-fashioned and is very noisy when you're trying to film video, which is why I'm not using it. So obviously, don't get me wrong, that lens is fantastic for getting like B-roll footage of like products and all that. If you're recording a video with audio, I wouldn't recommend it, because if you got your mic on the top of your camera like what I do right now, all you're going to hear is those autofocusing motors every time when I bring the camera closer and closer to my face, and it's not going to be pretty. It really isn't going to be pretty. So then obviously you want to see some test footage of this lens on my Canon EOS 77D. So yeah, I'll show you I'll show you the quality of the lens, because the lens is a very, very sharp lens. There's not a lot of vignetting around the lens as well, I noticed. It's quite minimal actually, it's quite good, the vignetting. So let's go to the test footage and I'll show you how good this lens is. Okay, so this is the lens. I hope I'm not overexposed, but as you can see by behind me, these are the examples of the bokeh balls that I was talking about. So this was the original lens I was using, which is quite a big FD lens, which is a EFS 18 to 55mm f4 to 5.6 when zooming in. So as you can see, that this lens keeps, well, with the dual pixel autofocus in this camera, it works very well with it. If I keep zooming in, I'm always in focus. Even if I put something in front of it, it might not work, but it might. It's in focus. It works extremely well, and as you can see, the autofocus is pretty fast for what it is. Obviously, I might be a bit more out of focus when it's trying to focus on me, just because of the wider f number, 1.8, which is super wide. Unfortunately, I do not have a variable ND filter with that lens. I have one on here, so I was able to have f4 at a shutter speed of 30, but in a minute I am super choppy. But if I give you a minute to just listen to the actual motors in the camera, this is what I mean by the noisy motors. Okay, so that's done. As you can see, it's just pigged back in focus. So as you can see, the motors in the DSLR, of course you can hear them. If you bump up the audio, you will be able to hear them, or you might be just able to hear them just normally. Hopefully you were able to hear the example that I was trying to say. Unfortunately, I'm outside, so it probably might have affected it a little bit. Yeah. The autofocusing motor is very, very fast in this one, and is super, super reliable. Obviously, this image looks really, really nice. Unfortunately, I wish I had a ND filter for this lens, but I don't. So, unfortunately, I am Mr. Choppy Robot. So, this lens obviously is a prime lens, and it's stuck with 50mm. So, I've got the camera quite far away from me right now. I would say it's probably about 1.5 meters away from me right now from my face, so it's not too far away. I hope the audio's alright. Just thought of that. So this lens is it comes at a very, very reasonable price. This lens markets around about £100, and that £100 and the results you get out of this lens is an absolute bargain. This lens, honestly, I'd recommend to the top of the hill for anybody who's starting to begin or are just on a budget like me. It's fantastic. When I do my B-roll footage, I whack the 5-axis image stabilization on my camera. If your camera doesn't have it, then you will have to stabilize your footage in post, which sometimes goes alright. I'm not too sure if it does depend on what software you use, but I use Sony Vegas personally, Sony Vegas Pro 15. Whacking on stabilization in post is very good, even though it takes a while for your computer to process it, but it's alright. What I'll do now, since my camera does have that feature of 5-axis stabilization, I will whack it on when I'm trying to shoot B-roll footage, because it unfortunately is going to be very, very shaky. This lens does not have image stabilization. It is just what it is. It is literally got autofocus and manual focus and a wide aperture. That's pretty much all it's got. But other than that, build quality is absolutely fantastic. There are no rattles, nothing moves around when you shake the lens. It's a very sturdy lens. Autofocusing motors are very smooth and very quick. I don't have, as you saw, I didn't really have a problem with them, other than the dual pixel autofocus getting a bit confused. So what you do also get with this lens is that I'm going to take the rear cap off really quickly, that you do get a metal lens mount, which I do not have with the other lenses I have, such as my standard stock lens and my zoom lens. They're all plastic mounts. But this one has a metal mount, so it should last longer and it should be less easy to break. Although metal mounts can grind down the actual mechanism over time, but the plastic ones are, you could snap them off if you really tried. It's very difficult, as I hear, but if you really tried. Right then, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So this has been the Canon 50mm f1.8. Fantastic lens this has been to me. So don't forget to subscribe, guys, like the video and leave your comments in the comment section, and I'll see you next time. Alright, see you guys.